Most of those kids you're talking about, that falls in line with what we've talked about with common sense practices of what athletes should make because they can't get a job while they're in school, right?
Yes.
I mean, we're talking $25 to $45 to $50,000 for the year in NIL, which to me, that's exactly what everyone, even if you were the staunchest, anti-kids getting paid, whatever, it's like, well, I think I'd be okay with them making some money for spending money on the side. That's where the floor is, right, for a lot of these guys.
You know what it truly is right now. Most institutions is around $2,000 or $3,000 a month. Okay, that's what they're goal seeking now. I'm sorry, that's where they're at. They're really trying to goal seek, into this $5,000, a month range. The money for the elite recruits right now is around $20,000, $25,000 a month. And that's just the facts. That's what the deals are happening right now. If you're a quarterback, there's an exception to that, and that's where the deals are more of a negotiation versus. So I want to back up for 2 seconds. I really don't think the majority of the elites are picking a school based on the NIL outcome. I think they are picking their choices, though, around the schools that are participating in NIL. There's a fundamental difference here, because I think of the athletes that we've surveyed, that we speak anonymously with, and we pair it with the data that we're talking with the collectives and the coaches, they're all generally around this same range until they get into a desperation phase. And there's several instances where we have to have that kid. Just, it's not an option. We haven't recruited well, or he's the key to our season next year. What's the number? And there are those instances that are happening right now. But those instances are not this $3-4 million kind of stuff as baloney.
Yeah. Well, and look, this feels, numbers aside, and whether that part of it is baloney, as you say, or not, to me, this feels like a desperate move. This feels like an instance of, we lost this kid to Miami. Season's not going as well as we thought. It's early November. The kid flips on November 10th, and suddenly it's whispers of $4 million more he's going to make than the $9 million he was promised at Miami to go to Florida. If this is true, and G. Allen Taylor of The Athletic is reporting that there is serious potential for litigation from Jaden Rashada, that there is a signed contract with the Gator Collective that they're not wanting to pay. What's the ripple effect of that, Shannon, if there is a lawsuit that's filed and all of this stuff goes public? Is it just isolated to Florida and that collective, or does this span out more?
I don't think it's really going to span out more, because I think with every passing day, the collectives are becoming wiser, smarter, and understanding value better. And so these situations are going to less likely occur. And look, we're meeting every day on this stuff, and our good works for college sports right now, we want to make sure value is understood and that it's not sensationalized in any way in these values to the athletes. And so the more calls, the more work we do, the more data science we do, I think will keep these things from happening. And that's a goal of ours. So and it's also like, you go down that path, you may be signing away who's going to touch you. You want that in your program? As a coach, wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole.
What's the risk toleration for some of these collectives? And I think about this with the Gator Collective. Let's say they get sued over this. I mean, are they in for that fight? Or is this something where the people that are involved are thinking, I didn't sign up for this. I don't want to get into this world and face litigation every time someone's unhappy over something. Do you think there could be an issue with that, specifically with Florida?
My take on that is that some form of the collectives are not going away, and it's just cost.
Could be someone else doing it.
It's cost of doing business, and if I'm the rich multi-gazillionaire and I'm putting money in it, that's y'all's problem. Y'all handle it. That's why I'm over here. I'm just supplying the money. That's not going to stop this engine from rolling if that's down the tracks. That's what you're talking about.
Am I wrong to assume that the contracts that are signed are extremely one-sided right now?
They have to be.
For protection purposes. Like the player's not represented in this, right?
Some cases they are, but it's I don't know.
It would be like me negotiating with you, Shannon, and
no.
Sign this, okay. It's one of those deals where someone's got the experience and the other one doesn't. I wonder how long that lasts. Where the players realize what's going on, and that, to Chad's point, that's where the lawsuits come in.
There is a complete misperception from the fan and likely from the athlete on the construct of these deals, if that's your point.
Okay.
And the point is there's a lot of triggers in these deals. It is not a situation where little Johnny rolls up, signs a contract, and gets the big check for $13 million.
Gets the bag.
They're not getting the bag. It's not like that. So
yeah.
That's the perception.
Yeah, it's not like that.
That's a good dose of reality, I think.
Well, money doesn't flow like that either. So when we talk to a collective and they, it's a hard, what's the goal? What are we working toward? And it's $10 million. Say that's the answer. Where's it going to come from? Well, we need 35% from corporate sponsors. We need 65% from donors. And then I go to the next question: what's in the bank?
Right.
And those numbers are never the same. There's actually a chasm there. There's money coming out. So the point is, there's rich people, there's smart people, and it's a big business. Operational efficiencies are going to occur, and they're going to occur like with lightning speed over these next 8 or 9 months. For those 30%, 40% of the schools that go, I get it, we've got to play the game.
Shannon, as a Tennessee grad, I was excited to see that Nico jumped Arch Manning for number 1 overall in your rankings as an incoming Tennessee quarterback. And I also immediately thought, okay, what has happened that he jumped Arch Manning since the last ranking came out? So I'm thrilled that you are in right now to walk us through the process of On3, your talent evaluators, and how you schedule out the year in terms of updated rankings and how these things change. And it flows over the course of a recruiting cycle that leads you to now, yesterday I believe it was, you guys launched your final On 300, top 300 players of the recruiting year.
Yeah, and I think we ended up having Arch 3, for example. So
yeah.
it really came down to a couple of factors. Okay, first of all, I want to be clear, I'm not in the ranking process in any way. I don't give any feedback on any of these kids. I just sit there and watch it, and I set up the constructs of how it's going to work. We rank 32 players every year, 5 stars. We tie that to the draft, and the initial idea is we feel that these are the players that best project to be first-rounders out of this class and so forth. So technically, statistically, there's not a big deal at all between being ranked number 1 and being ranked 15. I know it's fun for fans and all that. But to answer your question, Nico's athleticism is just next level off the charts. Now, I know he's got an elongated throwing motion that, he typically leads to accuracy issues, but he is a rare multi-sport athlete. That is, if you go back into the greats of the game, especially at that position, you will find one of the common denominators is the great ones, they could have been drafted in baseball. They could have played basketball. That's a thing. And so that just pushed him over. So you talk to Heupel, who's had a set of eyes on him. What are we seeing here? What's the upside? What's the ceiling? And there isn't a ceiling with this young man. He's got unlimited upside. You look at Arch, and he is a beautiful throwing motion. It is compact. It is tight. He is accurate. Didn't have a good offensive line. He was sacked over 20-something times. He's not a burst, twitchy athlete. He's an okay athlete. The Manning name definitely has impact in that ranking. But I think at the end of the day, what the guys decided, and just talking to them, was that number 1, there wasn't a clear-cut number 1 in this class. There were 5 or 6 kids that they felt deserved it, and there wasn't a Caleb Williams. And so in looking at it, they felt that Nico had a higher ceiling, was going to a great program, a great offensive program, going with a coach that would develop him, and they felt better with that risk profile and ceiling profile.
How many do you have scouting right now?
There's, what we do with that is our head of evaluations, a guy named Charles Powers, and he ran it for me at 24/7. So we have data history on his evaluations. Love about Charles, he gives no rips on any team. He is not a fan of any school, could care less where they go. He over-evaluates in that sense. So that's piece one. The other part that I love is that what most people I think don't understand is that we give a mathematical formula on how many tight ends we want, how many quarterbacks we want. We pair that to a state geographic pairing. And so we've got math behind it. And then the next phase is we go out, we see the kids with a group of probably 30. And then the next phase that just continues throughout the year, which is, I think, the most important piece of it, is constant communication with the assistant coaches. So if you really want to get down to it, okay, the people that are really evaluating these kids are the coaches and the schools that are taking them. We have those relationships. We've got 250 employees, content creators. We compile all that data, and then Charles and his team put it with theirs, and then they make a projection. I think going into last year, somewhere around 68% of an on-3 consensus 5-star gets drafted. That's 14 times that of a 3-star or something. So it's really accurate. But to get into who's number 1 or number 3, good luck.
How awesome is Livy Dunne when you look at this? And I think we often
what,
make the
what a
mistake
curveball here.
Yeah. Just,
Where are we going with this?
Let's dive right in.
Let's go.
I was gonna leave it, Shannon. Just how awesome is Livy Dunne?
Give me the moonshine.
Very
here.
easy to
Right
rank.
here. There's some right here on the table.
Yeah.
So I'll preface it with this. I think we just say NIL to blanket statement a lot of things that oftentimes don't have anything to do with NIL. Everything that she's done and all the money she's made is NIL.
As it
name,
should be.
image, likeness in its purest form. Whether prudes out there want to get mad that she's a hot girl that's profiting from her hotness on social media,
I'm not joining this conversation.
deal with it, right? But but my point is, isn't this, if you just wanted to look up the model for NIL and how it could work to its best, it's what Livy Dunne has done with it, for lack of a better term. No pun intended.
She slayed it.
Good? You agree?
I agree.
All right, we're done. Let's take some shots of moonshine now. We've
I mean, why would anyone care?
Agree with me.
Yeah, why would anyone care is the thing.
Oh, because, I'm sure we'll have someone in our YouTube chat right now say this. Oh, no one cares about her athleticism, or no one's watching LSU gymnastics, or there's plenty of other better gymnasts out there that aren't making as much money. It's not about merit. It's about her look, and it's about this and that. And I would just simply point those people to countless professions that it's about the exact same thing.
I'll ask you one question. Is sports entertainment?
Of course.
Yes.
You just answered the question then.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at our favorite country music singers, or let's look at our favorite actors in Hollywood, or let's look at this. A lot of them got their job. I hate to offend people out there, but because of their look is how they got it.
Yep.
And I bet you there's...
Is that why you got this job, or was it because of your voice?
Absolutely no. I just paired well with Chad.
Oh, okay.
No, it's his look. They needed something to offset me that was better, and they said, let's give this guy the job.
Shannon, you actually looked up because yesterday our conversation was whether or not Chad should go to a tanning bed. So.
Yeah, I was wearing a white shirt yesterday, Shannon, and I mean, it was reflecting off of my pale skin in the wintertime to the point where I actually considered going to a tanning bed for the first time ever.
So is that a filter then? Because you look on the screen, you look good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think they changed the filter in here. I think our crack production team
copying
came
everything
up
Livy
with
Dunne's
something
doing.
that's
the filters.
it puts some color in my face when I talk about Livy Dunne.
One more for you.
Yeah.
Because we're talked a lot about high school recruiting in this. Yeah, and the way you answered the question about how many scouts you have is about the high school rank, right? How much of your focus now is going to be transfer portal and ranking players currently playing?
It is. It's more important than recruiting, honestly, because we break our valuation down into 3 components. We call it PI. It's our Madden score. P for performance, I for influence, and E for exposure. Performance is on the college scale, and so like an Arch Manning may be ranked 99 as a recruit, but I think I looked at his P scores like 70 or something like that because he hasn't performed. And so we have to take that formula on forward, and we have to scout the college level more because of the turnover through transfer portal, but mostly because of the value of the athlete. So it's significant, and it really comes down to conversations with coaches as much as anything.
How do you trust the coaches?
Consensus. Look, I mean, we've been
Don't
doing
they
this.
all have a motive though?
If enough of them say the same thing, it's pretty
Okay.
dang close. I mean, I go to dinner last night with DeMarco Murray, and we spent 4 hours together, just the two of us, and 90% of that conversation was about 50 running backs. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'm getting my scouting information from DeMarco Murray, who to this day, and I'll never forget where I was sitting at 24/7 Sports when I put his tape on, it wasn't Reggie Bush stuff, but it was close. I mean, and so, Brian Hartline, that's information is critical, to this whole process for us. And that's something that we've got to maintain.
And then that's where all the rankings come in. And I'm fascinated by where we're headed in the transfer portal stack of players.
I'm disappointed, by the way. Here's what I think. I think the collectives got in there and got work done. And I think the talent depth of the transfer portal, was it closed? It closes soon, right?
Yeah. Last week.
Yeah. I'm really disappointed. Like, I expected a lot more high-profile, game-changing players, especially at the line of scrimmage. But I didn't see. It really was a disappointing transfer portal for me.
You think the collective stepped up to keep guys?
Oh, I know they did.
Yeah.
I mean, make no mistake. This transfer is a lot of noise and a lot of numbers. And I know, Notre Dame got, that was a big win for them. Obviously, Florida State's done well. UCLA's done well. There's schools that have done well. But when you really look at what I was expecting, it did not happen at all. And that means they stayed home. And I think they stayed home. We know why they stayed home.
A.D. Mitchell's apparently entering the portal.
I saw that a few minutes ago.
Yeah, the rumors are he's going back home to Texas.
That's a heck of a. I mean, that was one that, like, okay, I'm looking at this, in Hartman, who knows what that will do, but that's a big get.
Enjoy your dinner tonight. I'm sure you're going somewhere with another, NFL star. So.
Yeah, you know me. It's all I do.
Keep us
There's nothing about
Every
my
night.
life boring.
He just has dinner with former NFL running backs all the time.
Well, now he mentioned Hartline and Murray, so now we move on to like offensive line, maybe tackle.
He's going out with Thurman Thomas tonight after DeMarco Murray, another Big 12 guy.
Tight ends, yeah.
Who knows? Shannon, thanks so much, man. Always good seeing you.
Let's do this more often, maybe next couple of weeks or so.
Yep, see you.
Shannon and Terry in studio with us here in Nashville.